Hello guys, welcome back to my channel. So today I'm going to be showing you how I cut this wedding or registry dress. So I want you to pay close attention to the videos and details. So these are the measurements I used for this clothes: the length of 59, the chest of 38, the waist of 32, the hip of 43, and the half length of 14 and a half. I already cut out my body measurement. So the next thing I'm going to be doing now, what I'm doing right now is I'm checking the measurements I use for the zip allowance, which is 1 inches. I already removed that 1 inches. Then for our shoulder is 15 and a half. So this is what I'm doing right now. I already removed that. Our shoulder is 15 and a half. 15 and a half. So can you see that? So I'll shock it. I'll measure the same thing I measure on the shoulder measurements. I'll measure it at that place, then I'll rule it, then I'll do my armhole. Can you see that? So for the chest measurements, our chest is 38. 38 divided by 2 give us 9.5 plus sewing allowance. That's why I measure 2 inches. I'm going to be using 2 inches for the sewing allowance for this particular cloth. So our waist is 32. 32 divided by 4 will give us 8. So I check my 8, then I'll put my 2-inch sewing allowance. Can you see that? Then from our waistline to our hip is 8. From our waistline to our hip is 8. So from there, our hip is 43. 43 divided by 4 will give us 11 and a half. 11 and a half and quarter will give us 43 plus my 2-inch sewing allowance. That's what I wrote. And for our shoulder measure, for our neckline measurements, I use 4 by 2. That is for the back measurements. She don't want her back to be too open. That's why it's like that. So I just use 4 by 3. 4 by 2 rather. Thank you so much. So I'm going to cut it out. Can you see that? I already cut out the neckline. So I'm cutting out the armhole right now. Can you see that? Yeah. So I already cut out the body measurements. So the next thing I'm going to be doing now is I'm going to cut the zip side. That is the zip allowance. So I'll be cutting the back into 2 pieces. So I'm done cutting. So the next thing I want to do now is I want to cut out the hand, my sleeve. So our sleeve is 21 plus my sewing allowance. I'll be cutting 22. So I'll cut it out. So I'm done cutting it out. So the next thing I'm going to be doing now is I'm going to be shocking 4 to get my armhole measurements, to get my round sleeve. You know, that place that I'm going to sew the sleeve on. So that's why I use 4. So for our hand band, our hand is 7. 7 divided by 2 will give us 3.5. So I already chalked that plus sewing allowance. That is why we have what we have here. Can you see that? Okay. So I already cut out the end. So this is what we have here. So I'm going to notch the middle of the, I'll just notch it small. Yeah, that's about that. So the next thing I'm going to be doing now is I'm going to be cutting our half length for the front, the padded place. This is normal breast pad, normal one, the simplest one. So I remove my yoke. Our half length is 14 and a half plus my 1-inch sewing allowance. So I will be shocking 15 and a half here. Can you see that? So my own breast part is very very simple the way I cut it. So what I always do is I always add 4 or 5 inches to the person chest measurements. Do you understand what I mean? I'll add 4 or 5 inches to the person measurement. The person chest is 38 divided by 2 will give us 9.5. So after that, I will now put my 5 or 4 inches to the body, to the measurements I needed. Do you understand what I mean? So I'll just add 5 or 4. It depends. You can add 4, you can add 5. So I'll cut it out now. I'll cut it out. Can you see that? So this is what we have. The next thing we are going to do now is we are going to be folding it. Please, I want you to pay attention to this very place. It's very very important and it's very very simple. So can you see the way I fold it? Yes. So the next thing you are going to be doing now, you are going to be working with your nipple to nipple. This person nipple to nipple is 7.5. So 7.5 divided by 2 will give us 3.5 plus your sewing allowance, which is ½ inch. That's why we are having 4.25. Can you see that? 4.25. Just ½ inch for your sewing allowance is okay. You understand what I mean? If you measure the person's nipple to nipple 7, we are going to be cutting 7.5. If you measure the person 8, you are going to be cutting 8.5. Do you understand? So this is the down part. The down part is just ½ inch minus from the hop. Like this place that I just cut now is 8.25. Then the down part you will be cutting 3.5. Do you understand? I meant 8.25. I meant 4.5. 4.25. Do you get me? So now on food, you will just measure 2 from that down. I'm going to show you again. You just measure 2 from that side. This is what we have after cutting it. This is what we have. We have the 3 piece, the middle one, and the 2 sides. Can you see that? So that's what we have. So the next thing we are going to be doing now is we are going to be cutting our body. What I always do is I will be using the middle to cut 2 pieces of body. You understand what I mean? I'll cut 2 pieces with the middle one. Just pay attention to the video. So I'm cutting the second one now. You can use anyone. You can cut anyone into 2. You understand? It's the same thing. So I'll cut 1 into 2 pieces. So that 2 piece that I cut is going to be the one for the 2 side. The side padded. And the one I didn't cut will be for the middle. I'll be showing you how to do this in my sewing video. So we are done with that. So the next thing we are going to be doing now is we are going to be cutting our lining, our fabric. So I'm going to be using the lining that I cut earlier to cut out my main fabric. So I'll be cutting out my lining for the body I cut earlier. I already cut out my lining. So let me explain this please very well. This wording I'm cutting right now. This particular wedding dress I sew, I double the padded. Sure, you understand? So whenever I want to double the padded, I always, depending on the person chest measurement. So for this person measurement, which is 38, I'm using 8 by 8. Do you understand what I mean? I'll be showing you how to do this in my sewing video. How I used to do my bra. This is like a bra. This is like a bra shape, like a cup shape. You understand? So I for this particular chest measurement, which is 38, I'll be using 8. This is how I'll sew it. Can you see that? I just try to show you that a little bit. So 8 by 8. So I'll be cutting it 2 piece. You know, it's normal 2 bra. So I'll cut 8 by 8 in 2 piece. That is that about that too. So I'll be showing you how I sew it. So this is the lining I'm going to be using to do the down parts. This is flare, and this is our down material. This is not lining. This is for the down material. So the 5 will give us 24 plus 1 inch sewing allowance, that is 25. And you see that's 25. So I'm going to shock it around. So let me explain this before I cut this finish. If you are like this measurement now, the person hip is 43. 43 minus 4 inches will give us 40, or you can use 4 or 5 inches. That will be 39 for our ankle, not ankle, for our nail, for the place you are going to join the flare. You understand? So that's what I measured the other time. So I'm done cutting that one. I'll be cutting the other 2 steps. You know, it's 3 steps for the clothes. So this is the hard net, because I had lining with my hard net. So for the hard net, I measure 6. The hard net is 4 yards. So I already fold all the 4 yards. So I'm just going to be using these 2. This 2 is now 4 pieces for the clothes. Thanks for watching. God bless you. Bye.